Washington, D.C. is our nation's capital. The United States Capitol is the meeting place of the United States Congress, the legislature of the federal government of the United States. Located in Washington, D.C., it sits atop Capitol Hill at the eastern end of the National Mall. The United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. is among the most architecturally impressive and symbolically important buildings in the world. It has housed the meeting chambers of the Senate and the House of Representatives for almost 2 centuries. As the focal point of the government's legislative branch, the Capitol is the centerpiece of the Capitol complex, which includes 6 principal congressional office buildings and 3 Library of Congress buildings. The Dirksen Senate Office Building was the second of 3 office buildings constructed for the United States Senate. Oddly enough, the west face, which is often mistaken to be the front of the building, is actually the back of the building. The true front is the east face. Completed in the spring of 1933, the Longworth House Office Building is the second of 3 office buildings constructed for the United States House of Representatives. The apotheosis of Washington in the eye of the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol was painted in the true fresco technique by Constantino Bramante in 1865. Suspended 180 feet above the rotunda floor, the fresco covers an area of 4,664 square feet. The figures, up to 15 feet tall, were painted to be visible from close up as well as from 180 feet below. Bramante depicted George Washington rising to the heavens in glory, flanked by female figures representing liberty, victory, and fame. A rainbow arches at his feet, and 13 maidens symbolizing the original states flank 3 central figures. The Washington National Cathedral was built due to the creativity, energy, skills, and generosity of generations of artisans, donors, and workers. Located in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, it is in Gothic design and the 6th largest cathedral in the world, the 2nd largest in the United States, and the 4th tallest structure in Washington, D.C. Inside the Washington Cathedral, there are many works of art, including over 200 stained glass windows, the most familiar of which may be the Space Window, honoring the man's landing on the moon, which includes a fragment of lunar rock at its center. The West Rose Window was dedicated in 1977 in the presence of Queen Elizabeth II and President Jimmy Carter. Most of the building is constructed using a buff-colored Indiana limestone. Modern materials only replace beams and rafters that would have been built of wood with steel in the roof or the concrete in the support structures for bells and floors in the West Towers. Welcome to the Smithsonian Institution, the world's largest museum complex and research organization composed of 19 museums, 9 research centers, and the National Zoo. Among many of the famous artifacts in the Smithsonian Institute, we have a portrait of the 21-year-old Elvis Presley on the threshold of superstardom. Painted by Ralph Cohen, this famous picture is also on display at the Smithsonian Institute. Our country began in Williamsburg, Virginia. Let's step back in time to experience the exciting ideas and dreams of both great and everyday people on the eve of the American Revolution. The process of defining our country's values and beliefs started in the settlement of Williamsburg, Virginia more than 200 years ago and continues to this day. Mickey's Tavern in Williamsburg, Virginia is an old hotel where travelers would come for the night. In colonial times, dancing was their way of having fun. They would dance around the room and sleep anywhere they could find a space. They would cook over a fire in a stone or wood-burning fireplace. Horse and buggy were their only form of transportation. And yes, this is the outhouse. the place where colonial travelers would have to go even in the middle of the night to use the restroom. And this is an example of a public restroom. Could you even imagine? Headquarters of the Department of Defense, the Pentagon is one of the world's largest office buildings. Approximately 23,000 employees, both military and civilian, contribute to the planning and execution of the defense of our country. Arlington National Cemetery, the nation's most sacred shrine. Located in Arlington, Virginia, established during the American Civil War on the grounds of the Arlington House. More than 300,000 people are buried in an area of 624 acres. Veterans and military casualties from every one of the nation's wars are interred in the cemetery, from the American Revolution to the military actions in Afghanistan and Iraq. The Iwo Jima Memorial honors the Marines who have died defending our country since 1775. Our country 'tis of thee.